Everything has changed in the days of like having a text messages and emails. So it came in an email, which was like really lackluster of a thing to like, see something like that. But it was still like, am I like reading this right? Like, is it actually saying that? And then I'm alone in my car, like, what is happening? It just feels so surreal. And deals are like that too. I signed my...
The intersection of good drinks, good music, and good times. This is Hops and Spirits Bar Conversations.
Welcome into episode 150. I can't believe we've made it this long. Right before I hit the record button, I asked my wife that, and she said yes, she could. But I think that's because I've had to kick her out of our very luxurious studio here, live from the dining room table. But we've had a lot of fun. The ride is far from over. We got a great episode for you this week as we talk with Britt Taylor, country artist, songwriter out of Kentucky. And we've got just a lot more fun stuff coming up. And if you're watching on Facebook or YouTube, just kind of look over here. You'll see some new things, a whole new look for the bar conversations as we've tried to elevate us here a little bit as we hit episode 150. And also, we got so much other cool things happening. Our Hops and Spirits Kentucky podcast, all things drink, food, art, fun, happening in Kentucky and slightly beyond. Our Neat and Mixed series with Brandon and myself, where we review new bourbons, other spirits that maybe have a touch of bourbon to do with them. It's a ton of fun. You don't want to miss those that drop each week. And then obviously hopspirits.com, where you can get all of those podcasts and series along with our happy hour Q&As and so much more. And like I said last week, Tasting Notes is no more. We've kind of semi-retired it, and we got something new for you this week. It's called the 4-Pack. And you know what? Let's get into it. This week's 4-Pack is new songs that I like, and new is relative here. The first one up is none other than Tanner Adell. She brings plenty of attitude, several lines that cut through for some folks on this one. She's one to definitely keep an eye out on, as she's been putting out a lot more new music lately, too. That's pretty good as well. Up next is none other than Boomtown Saints, Blacktop Don't. And this is fun. This song just screams summer, getting out and about. We'll have these guys on the podcast soon. Really looking forward to it, because this is one of my favorite songs that I've heard in a good while. Up next is Josh Melton, Empty Bottles. As a father, this one hits me hard. With my daughter, it brings back all sorts of memories, good memories of that. This is just a damn good song. And last but not least is Brian Martin, Going for Broke. Dude is just super talented. If you haven't yet, you need to give this song and all of his other songs a listen, because I see big things happening in his future, and that's this week's 4-Pack. And up next, we talk with country artist and songwriter Britt Taylor. Cheers.
Did you know Hops and Spirits is more than just this podcast? Check out hopspirits.com for our latest episode release, past episodes, interviews with interesting folks in the alcohol industry, and so much more. Just go to hopspirits.com. Feel free to wait until this podcast is done.
Joining us here for our conversation for our 150th episode, too. She's born and raised in Kentucky, living down in Tennessee now. She's a country artist, songwriter. Welcome in, Britt Taylor.
Hey, thanks for having me.
Well, thank you for hopping on. And I think usually I start out with all my interviews with the same way. And if you're watching the video, I think you might be able to see that she has a drink with her. Got anything good tonight?
I actually do. I got lucky and found a bottle of Blanton's a couple months. So I decided, podcast, treat myself with one of my good bourbons.
I like that. See, I've been drinking bourbon so much lately. I was like, you know what? It's summertime. It was warm today. So I decided it is hops and spirits too. So I was like, I'll go hoppy side. And one of my favorite summer beers, a little garage beer with lime. I was like, you know what? I need something refreshing tonight.
Yeah. I don't know if, I think I could drink bourbon all year, but I do tend to lean towards tequila a lot in the summer.
Now, are you like a Blanco tequila, Reposado, Añejo? Where do you lay there?
I know nothing of tequila. Just whichever one won't give me too bad of a hangover, that's the one. I can talk about bourbon all day long, but I know nothing about tequila.
Well, there you go. Now, so obviously you got the Blantons. I mean, are you one that has like a little collection, or do you kind of have just a couple bottles and then rotate through?
Not a big collection. I mean, I keep like Makers and Woodford on hand and Basil Hayden. And then like I have a few good bottles, like Taylor and my Blanton's. So yeah, I keep a couple of like good bottles.
You got a couple every day and then a couple special occasions, right?
Yeah.
Now, did you always grow up on bourbon, or was that a little bit later on acquired taste?
You know, I didn't start drinking until I got to college. I think I'll never forget my first shot of liquor, and it was tequila. And my second shot of liquor, I think it was Jack Daniels. And then somewhere along the lines, I was like, I'm from Kentucky. I need to get this whole thing straightened out. And figured out I really liked a good bourbon.
There you go. There you go. I like it. See, some things just come natural to folks. It took me a little longer, but I'm a Kentucky transplant, so I think that's the problem.
What part of Kentucky are you in?
I'm in Lexington now, and I grew up in West Virginia.
Okay.
So not too far.
Well, we claim West Virginia, too, so we're all
That
here.
is true. Well, exactly. And where I came from, I was in southern West Virginia, although I did grow up in the northern part, too. So, I got a nice mix of West Virginia in me.
Yeah.
Now, I got to ask you this story, too, because I was reading about this. And did you really get your very first guitar for $50 because you sang a song that he requested?
Yeah, it was $50 or $100. It was something ridiculous. It wasn't an expensive, like, nice guitar, but I remember it being like a couple $100 or $250 or something. And yeah, it was 50 or 100. It seems like it was 50 though. I don't remember exactly. I'll have to ask my mom. But yeah, I sang for the guy in the store. I was like, anything, like, I'm a singer. I'm a country singer, and like I'll sing you whatever song you want to hear if we can just have this guitar for this much. This is what my mom said we could spend on a guitar. And he was like, well, all right, what song do you know? And I was like, well, what song can you play? And he said he could play Landslide. So he played Landslide while I sang it.
And afterwards, was he like, all right, a deal's a deal?
He did, and he was so sweet and supportive and kind, and yeah, I'll never forget that.
I was gonna say, I mean, that's a cool story. And what made you kind of want to play the guitar? Was it just because you had enjoyed singing and you wanted to get into that?
I did not want to. I was like very lazy. I just wanted to sing and perform, and I was playing piano, and just always had a hard time like reading music. I wanted to play everything by ear, so I always had teachers kicking me out of piano because they're like, "You're not really reading, are you? You're listening and then repeating what we're doing." And I definitely was. I'm just terrible. I'm just not good at reading music. And, but the very same guy that like kicked me out of piano, was getting ready to move to Nashville. And he was like, come in here a minute. And he like grabbed me out of the hall of the Mountain Arts Center in Prestonsburg where I was singing. And he's like, just come in here a minute. He's like, I'm going to show you something that you need to know when you go to Nashville, because he was about to leave town. And I was like, okay. And he showed me the Nashville number system, which you don't want any kid knowing that you want to learn how to read music, because if you learn that, you'll never learn how to read music. And you just don't need to here in Nashville. So he was like, there you go. And also, like, what are you gonna do when you get to Nashville? Are you gonna carry the piano around? And I was like, I don't know. And he said, you'll never make it in that town unless you learn to play the guitar. And I left and was like, Mom, I have to get a guitar. We have to go now. I have to learn tonight. Like, we have to get a guitar. And that's why I learned. I also think I got kicked out of guitar classes, and then I just learned to play on my own.
I sense a pattern there with you.
I know.
A bit of a troublemaker, it seems.
Yeah.
Which I think works for a musician. And now, did you come from a musical family? Like, was that just all around you, or were you something like, wait a minute, how did she get the musical gene?
Yeah, nobody knows. I think, like, somewhere on far down the line, somebody played a banjo. But not that I know. I had a very crafty grandparent. My dad's mom was always writing poetry and just making beautiful stained glass lamps and and Barbie doll dresses, and just extremely talented, but I don't think I ever heard her sing. I mean, everybody sang in church, but I never heard her like sing. And I don't know, I just started singing, and somebody noticed, and thank God that I am from East Kentucky and had parents who were like, oh wait, like there might be something here. And then because of the area I grew up in, there was an opportunity for them to take me to Prestonsburg, to the Mountain Arts Center, get me involved in voice coach and voice lessons and guitar and piano, and start performing on a stage and kind of learning what all it was about. And as soon as I stepped foot on that stage, I haven't stepped off since.
I was going to say, my daughter, we're hopeful that she gets a musical gene, because it's not coming from my wife or I, because we can't carry a tune anywhere. Now, I did notice, though, that you posted this on your social media. I think it was for Father's Day. You did a little karate back then, though.
Yep, my daddy.
A little family karate.
Taught martial arts right there on Route 80, and he had a couple of schools when I was growing up. But he was teaching me self-defense by the time I was 4 years old. So I've been whooping boys' ass since I was real tiny.
See, a troublemaker from even an early start. The pattern continues, and like you said, obviously Eastern Kentucky is where you grew up. What was it like, growing up down there and kind of just being in that culture?
I mean, it was great. Like, I can't imagine the path that my life would have taken had I not been born and raised in East Kentucky, because not coming from a musical family who didn't know how to navigate anything like that, I don't know how I would be here if I hadn't been born and raised in East Kentucky with Prestonsburg and the MAC and the Kentucky Opry. I do think that I would have had a very different life.
Well, and obviously, like you said, there's a lot of music down there too, and folks may not always realize how much music comes out of there. Who were some of your biggest influences growing up? I mean, whether that was the artist or family or local folk.
Oh, my all-time favorite. See, everybody thinks that I'm just saying this because I'm from Kentucky, but in the whole wide world, my all-time favorite is Patty Loveless, Ricky Skaggs, Dwight Yoakam, Loretta Lynn, Chris Stapleton, and favorite songwriters, Larry Cordell. Like, they're all from that part of the state. Like, not even just from Kentucky, but they're all from along the country music highway, US 23, Route US 23, or, a border county of that route. So, the area is just drenched in insane talent. And I always tell everybody, for all the ones that we do know that made it, that are famous, and we love their music, there's somebody just as talented on their back porch, picking and grinning every weekend. They could care less if we know who they are. And they're just as talented.
I was going to say, there might be something in the water down there.
I think so. We're in the bourbon.
That's true too. You make a very, very, very good point on that one. And like you said, those opportunities. Was there any doubt that you wouldn't go the musician route with being able to be part of the Kentucky Opry at an early age, getting those lessons and having all those opportunities? Was that pretty much it for you? Yeah,
I never thought about anything else. It just didn't even occur to me that there might be another choice. I definitely know that I would have been supported had I made another choice. I come from a fantastic family who, just love me and want to see me happy no matter what I do. But I just never thought about it.
Now, was there ever a moment, because I know for most, they always see the success maybe that you're having nowadays. The journey hasn't always been smooth for you. Were there ever any points, though, where you were like, okay, maybe not?
5 minutes ago, all the time. I mean, self-doubt definitely creeps in, more so when I got to Nashville, because you get, to Nashville and everybody who was somebody in their hometown is really, really talented. and we're all here to do the same thing. And it can be really intimidating when you first get to town, but when you realize that, you know, everybody's in it together, and you see people rise together, like, you know, Lainey Wilson right now, her and all her friends are rising up together. They have been writing songs and busting their butts for the past 7, 8, 10 years, are all rising together. So it's just a matter of getting here and figuring out who your people are. But yeah, and then you see stuff like that too, and you can start to doubt your own path. And it's really, you got to have that tunnel vision to keep your focus on your own path and be happy for your people that are rising, and know that your turn's coming.
Well, and I was going to say, for you, for those that don't know a little bit about your career, you kind of did a big reset, you know, before the last 2 albums that you put out. How big was that for you to kind of step away from it all and kind of just reset?
Oh, it was necessary. It was painful, but I just had to. I got here so young. And like I said, I had never questioned doing anything other than music. But I also hadn't questioned what that looks like for me. What kind of music do I want to make? I knew I wanted to make country music, but there's so many variations of what that can look like. And I was 17 when I got to town, and I went to school, and then I signed a publishing deal, which is really, today is really hard to get. They're just a really hard thing to get. So I was really lucky. But in that process of being so young and signing a deal with people that had so much success and putting so much trust in them always, that they, you know, knew better and that I should just listen to them, I just never really thought about what I wanted to do and what kind of music I wanted to make. And so I caught myself on this path of, you know, having a great time and making music, but not the music that I grew up on, not anything reminiscent of Patty or the people that I loved, and the sound that I wanted to carry on and make sure, you know, that sound lives on in my own new and fresh way. And I just had to step back and quit it all and reset.
Well, I'm guessing that had to be a scary time.
It was terrible.
Hindsight, it looked great. It worked out, but I'm sure during then it was like, what am I doing at times?
Yeah, it was terrifying. I was also going through a divorce, and he was, you know, the one that had the real job, and here I am quitting my job that might not even last for another year, you know. So it was definitely terrifying, but, you know, I picked up a mop and a duster and figured it out.
Well, I was gonna say, you cleaned up all the pieces, put it back together, and did you really self-finance Real Me through cleaning?
Through cleaning and lots of credit cards, yes.
Well, it seemed like it was a great investment for you, though.
I think so. I think it's paid off in a lot of ways. I signed another deal that's aligned with the things that I'm doing, and I got hooked up with 30 Tigers now, and Sturgill Simpson, and David Ferguson, and a fantastic booking agent and manager. And so 100% it pays to bet on yourself, even when you're paying out of your own pocket.
Well, and like you said, when you were putting that album together, obviously when you're self-financing it, you can kind of do what you want with what you can afford. What was it like to put that album together? You know, because it's a great album. I think my favorite one off that's Back in the Fire, that kicks it off. I mean, what was it like to be able to put that one out? I
don't know. It was so much fun that I forgot to be afraid. It was just like, you know, I did this all on my own. I called all the people, and thank God that they worked with me, and I don't know, I just followed my intuition, and it just, I don't know, it worked.
Well, I mean, it had to be reassuring too whenever you started to see the positive reaction and the kind of the accolades and the not just kind words, but like true, you know, critics going, this is something that people need to listen to.
Oh yeah, I think it helped me too that I went in with the attitude of, I don't really care if this doesn't do shit. This is me following my heart and soul and the path that I was meant to take here. I made all these decisions. I made all these calls. I put all this together. And at the end of the day, I'm proud of this. And I'm proud that I took a chance on myself and bet on myself and invested in myself. And at the end of the day, that's all that matters. And if people like this, that's awesome. But that's just the icing on the cake. So whatever happens, happens. I was just really proud of the project I made, and so everything after that was just a big old surprise.
And good surprises at that, I'm guessing.
I remember waking up, after Spotify updates their playlists, and there are things that I wanted, but just didn't really know if it was in the cards for somebody without a label or major distributor, but Indigo, I really wanted on the Indigo playlist, and I was like, if I get on that, then I've done something right. I just loved it, but I really just didn't think much about it. And I woke up after they had posted, and I checked my phone, and I had an email that was like, your song's been added to, Waking Up Ain't Easy has been added to the Indigo playlist, and it just blew my mind. And it was that moment that I was like, maybe I'm not done here yet. Like, maybe this might work out for me.
Yeah, and that you get to tell more stories. And what's it like for you when you get to tell those stories through songs? How does that process work for you? Is it, going back to real life experiences of others, or just some ideas?
Yeah, I think, all my songs have some sort of connection to me in my life or somebody that I know. I have to, as an artist, be able to relate to what I'm doing, or it just doesn't feel right to me. I usually just don't get attached to the songs that I don't relate to, that I can't find a connection to. And so it's really fun to be able to share stories like Waking Up Ain't Easy, because that was a very personal story of mine, and I wrote it in the most universal way that I knew how, because I did want people to be able to insert their own stories in, which they have, and that's been really cool to connect with people on that level. And then, with the new record in Kentucky Blue, and especially Rich Little Girl, I get super excited when there's other women that are like, yeah, Rich Little Girl.
Well, and I was going to say, did you always want to be a songwriter too? Because I think I read that you were trying to write songs for as long as you can remember.
Yeah, when I was a kid, I never thought that I would be a songwriter. No, it started out with just singing songs that I loved, but I would get really emotional about these songs, even like as a 4-year-old kid, riding in a car with my family to Myrtle Beach, on vacation, and my dad looks over at me and I'm crying. And I was sitting in the front seat with my daddy, because I'm daddy's girl, sitting in the shotgun seat, my mom and brother napping in the back on the drive there, and I'm crying, and my dad's like, honey, baby, what's wrong? And I was like, Daddy, that man in the song, his baby won't come back to him. And my dad called me baby, so I'm just wondering, that's the only kind of connection that I could think of that would make like a 4 or 5-year-old cry. I was like, why won't his baby come back to him, Daddy? Why won't he come back? It's such a sad song. And it was the Sam Cooke song, My Baby's Gone and She Ain't Coming Back. And so I've always had a connection to lyrics. It's something that I can't listen to music and focus on anything, because I'm focused on what it's saying. And then when I was 13, I just wasn't good at school, so I just assumed that I wouldn't be a good songwriter. I wasn't good at English or writing. Didn't get great grades. I passed, I just scooted on by as good as I can, no matter how hard I tried. So I just assumed that I wouldn't be good at it. And then I was 13, and a song landed on me, and it just flowed out of me, and it was structured like every song I'd ever listened to. It just had an accidental verse, and then a chorus, and then there was another verse, and the melody came to me, and I will never forget that moment, or where I was and what I was feeling, and songs still kind of just hit. The best songs still really hit like that.
Well, I mean, that like you said, those connections to songs, whether it's fans to yours or yours to others, is something that's really cool when you can see yourself in them.
Yeah, definitely.
And you know, talking about your most recent album, Kentucky Blue, what pushed you to text David Ferguson to help you with that one?
I just met with a few producers that I felt like didn't really get what I wanted to do, and I didn't feel like, and I was also just terrified to get back into a trap of doing what everybody else wanted me to do. So being just a little stubborn and aggressive, I was like, I don't want to work with these people. I am just going to text Ferg. Like, Ferg knows how to make a great country record. I don't know why we haven't done this already. And because I just met Ferg when I kind of switched gears and everything, but I got to know him throughout that and learn more about him and what a legend he is, and just like one of the last like legends, those outlaw guys that are just so talented. And so I just texted him and I was like, I don't know why we haven't made a record together. Like, will you make my record? I don't want to make a record with these other people. Like, how about me and you go into the studio and we do this together? And he was like, well, what about me and Sturgill do it? And I was like, oh, okay. And I just texted him. I was like, are you shitting me right now? Like, I can't handle this, okay? And when I got home, he called me and was like, all right, Sturgill's in. I was like, what? What? I just kept thinking, don't get your hopes up, Britt. Don't get your hopes up. Like, because there's just been so many times I've gotten my hopes up and just got shot back down. But, man, when Ferg and Sturgill say they're going to do something, they do it.
And what was it like working with those two on the album?
It was perfect. It was amazing. I wish I could go back and, you know, do it over and over again, because I feel like I learned so much, and I feel like I was super quiet during those sessions because I was just watching in awe of everybody and everybody's creativity, and just knowing that I was in the room with such legends that, you know, this is the kind of thing that goes down in country music history. And just, it was just a really cool moment.
And, you know, when folks get to listen to Kentucky Blue, what were you hoping that they would take away from it?
That they would feel connected to the songs, that they would be able to listen and either connect with an emotion or be able to escape their own emotions. Because I think we listen to music for one or the other. And that they'd hear where I came from, where I grew up, and feel connected to me too.
Now, for some reason, I like the first song on both of your albums. Like, those are like two of my favorites right off the bat, because I love Cabin in the Woods. What's one of your favorite songs? I know you're not supposed to have favorites. It's like kids. You're not supposed to have a favorite, but we all do. So what's like your favorite song on that album?
You know, Kentucky Blue is one of my favorites, but Rich Little Girls, it's been my favorite from the start, and it keeps growing on me too. Like, that's the one song on the record that I really wish that, you know, I had all the money in the world to promote it to country radio, because when I hear that song, it makes me sad that it didn't get a chance on country radio, because I think that song deserves to reach more people, and I just think women could use a song like that right now.
That's a very good point. And I'm guessing if that's a song you love, then you probably just love getting to perform that one too as well. Is there any other songs that are just fun to perform because for whatever reason they either get the crowd going or get the crowd emotional?
Yeah, everybody likes If You Don't Want to Love Me. That one's a blast to perform. I let the whole band like take a solo at the end, and we'll just kind of rock out at the end and get the crowd singing along with the oohs, and that one's always a lot of fun.
And you know, speaking of getting to perform, you got to perform at the Opry. What was that like?
Oh my gosh, it was a dream come true. I tell everybody, if there weren't videos and pictures and people there that witnessed it, I would have sworn it was a dream. It didn't happen. It wasn't real. But it was real. There's videos and pictures and people to prove it. And it was a whirlwind. It's like, I don't know, it's like getting married. It's like a big wedding. It's hard to remember it all. And it's all so special, and it just goes by too fast.
What was it like when you got the call to perform? Was that another moment like, are you shitting me? Like, is this true? Are you really gonna let me do this?
Yeah, it was so everything has changed in the days of like having a text messages and emails. So it came in an email, which was like really lackluster of a thing to like, see something like that. But it was still like, am I like reading this right? Like, is it actually saying that? And then I'm alone in my car, like, what is happening? It just feels so surreal. And deals are like that too. I signed my publishing deal on my phone. Like, you don't go into like this big fancy office and sit at a table with everybody and sign deals anymore. You're like signing them on your phone. And I signed my 30 Tigers deal in line at a Willie Nelson concert on my phone. It's just the strangest thing.
Technology takes away the fun of a few things, right?
But it's still really fun because it's like, this is hilarious. This is crazy.
Well, and you got a story to share as well, and I also love to. I got to go to Railbird, last month, earlier this month. I don't know. Time flies around my house. And what was that like for you to be at that festival? Because not that long ago, a couple months before that, you were in Lexington as well, but you were at the Burl, which is a slightly smaller venue.
Yeah. Man, I was really shocked when I got on that bill. Like, it's kind of the same thing as my first record, and trying not to have any expectations. I've just been trying to stay really level-headed, and there's people out with a lot more records than me that have been doing this thing a lot longer than me, and it's my first time with a booking agent, so like, it's okay when you don't get on the big posters and your name's in the tiny print. And then I saw that and I was like, oh my Lord, like, this is cool. All right, maybe it's working.
Well, I mean, to expand on that point, Zach Bryan, he was on the Burl stage in a mid-afternoon slot at one point, and then he was headlining a couple years later. Things can happen pretty quick.
Yeah, they can. Anything's possible.
And what's it been like for you to get to perform festivals, whether it's like Railbird or just other ones, and kind of do that versus maybe touring and so forth? Because they're obviously two different things.
Yeah, this is like my first experience getting to do festivals like this, and it's so much fun. And you're right, it is a very different vibe going from club to festival, but they're both really fun. Like, I played a festival with Mike and the Moon Prize this past Friday, and then we played a club or a barn. It's a club that's a barn, or a barn that's a club, one or the other. But it was fun going from a festival to a club, and the difference. And the festivals are fun because you can see everybody, and the clubs you kind of can only see like the first few rows. So it's always fun getting to look at everybody and sing to people.
Well, and then do you ever, when you get to go to some of those festivals, get to also, check out some of the other acts too?
Oh, yeah. Like, we saw our buddy Miles Miller, who just made a record with Sturgill. We got to watch him play. We got to watch all the acts. At Railbird, it was a little tougher to get around, and we were doing, like, podcasts and, like, stuff like that. But I did get to catch Ricky Skaggs, and, I mean, I've watched Ricky a handful of times, and he's so great. I usually don't bother people like that. Like, I don't ask for pictures. I don't, like, talk to them. I'm just pretend I didn't see them so I don't have to bother them. But Ricky was, like, walking towards me, and I was walking towards him, and I couldn't even go a different direction because it would have been weird. But, like, I can't walk past Ricky Skaggs and not say something. And so I just like, I love you.
That little fangirl moment.
I used to listen to you all the time with my Babble, and I have every one of your records.
And I'm guessing he loved it all.
He did, and I even asked for a picture, which embarrassed me, but I totally did, and I'm great. I'm very glad that I asked Creepy Skies for a picture at Railbird.
So next time you're out and about, don't be afraid. They're just like you. They're good people. That at least most.
Yeah, definitely. I'm never afraid that anybody's going to be rude or anything. Just more of like, man, I bet everybody's bothered them today. You know, I want to bother them too.
That's fair. That's fair. And as you know, Kentucky Blue is still kind of young. Like I said earlier this year. Is it just more promoting that the rest of the year? Or are you back in the studio doing anything fun? What are you allowed to tell me at the moment?
Oh, I got all kinds of secrets I'm keeping.
Because I don't want you to get in trouble with your all your people.
I know, I'll get phone calls as soon as this comes out. I have been in the studio working on some stuff, and not sure when that is going to come out, but the rest of this year we'll be finishing that up, promoting Kentucky Blue, and, still touring it and trying to introduce it to more and more people. There's so many people that, haven't heard it yet. I play shows all the time. They're like, "Oh, I haven't heard of you yet. I don't understand how I haven't heard this record yet." And so it's really fun when new people get to hear it. Just figuring out how to get it out there.
Well, I was gonna say that it's got to be fun to share that and make new fans. And I'm guessing that's what folks can expect the rest of the year is you to be trying to make more fans.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
And then for those that, are listening very closely to the podcast, you can tell Britt is outdoors. She's kind of maybe out in the country. I've heard frogs, okay?
Dogs chew on a toy over here. Blue, come here, get in the picture, buddy.
So am I correct that you got a couple acres out down there in Tennessee that you kind of have a little farm?
Yeah, just a little over 3. Most of it's wooded, so it's not too tough to take care of, and I love it.
I was going to say, I mean, how important was it for you to kind of have a little slice away from the big city?
Oh my gosh, it was so important. I've lived all over in Nashville and Murfreesboro, and when I found this house, it was like, okay, this is meant to be, like, and I still feel that way. Like, it's not a fancy home by any means, but the way I talk about it, people just assume it's like this big, like, fancy, elaborate woodland home, and it's just like a tiny little thing in the middle of the woods, but it's mine, and it's, I don't know, it's just so peaceful out here, and it's really cool. I love going to Nashville, and I love leaving Nashville. Like, both equally just as much to get back here, and now it's even more fun too, coming off a 5-day or 2-week or 3-week tour, getting to come home in the peace and quiet in my garden. Like, we came home to tomatoes and zucchini and squash, and so it was just really fun.
I was gonna say, so you have a green thumb then?
I have a green thumb when it comes to flowers. My husband is better at the garden, like the food part of this, and the herbs and the cooking. And all that.
Well, it's a good team. It's a good team.
Yeah, but I'm the flower girl.
See, I'm the one that is really good at doing the dishes, and my wife's really good at using the grill or anything else.
Nice.
And then, obviously, go for it.
It takes 2.
Exactly. And obviously you mentioned Blue. If you follow Britt on social media, I think Blue has made an appearance or 2. How important is Blue to the family?
Oh my gosh. He's like right at my feet, but you can't see him. He's perfect. He's only 10 months old, so he's a new addition. But he kind of came along at the right time. We found him in McDowell, Kentucky, at my papa's house. And it was kind of just meant to be, and we were trying to think of a name for him, and we were on our way to get him, and I was like, oh, Blue. I was like, his eyes are blue, he's blue, my record's Kentucky Blue, he's Kentucky Blue.
You hit the trifecta.
He was like, you're right, the dog's name's Blue, so we've been calling him Blue McDowell.
I love it. And Britt, this has been a blast. Thanks for sharing a drink with me, sharing some stories with me. And folks, if you haven't yet, go listen to Kentucky Blue, go listen to Real Me. I think you will greatly enjoy both.
Thank you. Thank you so much for having me.
Find more from Hops and Spirits at hopspirits.com.
Thanks, everybody. Bye.